Good morning and welcome to Coffee and the Word. So, yesterday I started a text in Romans chapter 12 that I want to finish today. So, I'm not going to do today's Bible verse of the day from YouVersion. But if you remember yesterday, we started with this idea that Paul writes in his letter to the Romans, be joyful in hope, patient in affliction, faithful in prayer, share with the Lord's people who are in need, practice hospitality. And I ended yesterday with that that fourth point, which is we need community. And I think that's the thing that I wanted to make sure that we finished talking about, because I know that a lot of us have, well, let me put it this way. I remember when the pandemic started, I saw lots of memes about the introverts being very happy, right? Because they don't have to be in crowds. And but I think I've seen this the struggle with the fact that we're not as connected as we once were. And one of the things that the separation caused is allowed us not to do life together, and so it allowed us to become isolated, so to speak. And if you're the devil, there's nothing you want more than to isolate people in their own head, isolate people in their own mind, isolate people in their own affliction. And so there's this separation that has happened. Even if we still have some people coming to church, we still have the social distancing, we still have all that. And I'm telling you, I think I've realized that has a lasting effect we haven't even really seen yet. We haven't seen the full effect of what that social distancing has caused for us. Because not just among the Lord's people. If you'll notice what he says, share with the Lord's people who are in need, practice hospitality. We need to connect with one another. But if you'll read on, he gives you some ideas about how to deal with some problems. He says, bless those who persecute you, bless and do not curse. Rejoice with those who rejoice, mourn with those who mourn, live in harmony with one another. Do not be proud, but be willing to associate with people of low position. Do not be conceited. Do not repay anyone evil for evil. Be careful to do what is right in the eyes of everyone. If it is possible, as much as depends on you, live at peace with everyone. Do not take revenge, my dear friends, and do not leave room, but leave room for God's wrath. For it is written, "Mine is to avenge; I will repay," says the Lord. On the contrary, if your enemy is hungry, feed him. If he is thirsty, give him something to drink. In doing this, you will heap burning coals upon his head. Do not be overcome with evil, but overcome evil with good. Did you notice that in this concept that has been unpacked about being living sacrifices, not conforming to the world, but being transformed, walking in our gifts, and then he gets to this: be joyful in hope, prayerful and or patient in affliction, faithful in prayer, and then community. In that whole thing, he then takes us through how we can maintain community. You see, one of the things that I don't think we really get is true community requires a lot of humility. True community requires a lot of confidence, not in other people, but in the God that we serve. You're going to be hurt by people. People are going to hurt you intentionally and unintentionally. People are going to do things that make you feel ways that make you feel disconnected intentionally and unintentionally. There are going to be people who make themselves out to be enemies of yours. There are going to be people who harm you and abuse you and treat you poorly. And here's the crazy thing. God gives us the right attitude to have in order to maintain community with flawed people, to love unlovable people. And there's a couple of points that he makes here. And the first thing he says is instead of talking about, instead of condemning, instead of rejecting, bless those who persecute. Bless and do not curse. And I think the best way we do that is he's basically saying, don't focus on all the negative. Don't focus on all the damage. Focus on who God is and what God is doing. And then he goes on, he's like, we also need to kind of go through the ebbs and flows of life. Rejoice with those who rejoice, mourn with those who mourn. And so there's this whole idea that we need to go through the ebbs and flows of life together. Look, you're going to be hurt by people, and you're going to be excited by things that go on with people. Rejoice with those who rejoice, mourn with those who mourn. And then there's another aspect of it is you need to be able to connect with people who are different from you and who may not be as kind as you are. And he's like, trust God that he'll take care of that. It's not your job to suss out all of the people who need to be repaid. Let God deal with that. You see, the only way to real community is for us to trust completely in God, not people. For us to believe God, let love be sincere, hate the evil, cling to what is good, and devoted to one another. The word devoted is such an interesting word, which means we're committed to community, even and especially when it's hard. That's the only way community ever works. When your community is predicated upon a bunch of flawed individuals who've all sinned and fallen short of the glory of God. People are going to hurt you. People are going to build you up. People are going to tempt you. People are going to take you down roads you didn't want to go. People are going to, I could keep going and going and on going. Our first and most important commitment is to the King of all kings, the Prince of Peace, the one who on the cross looked down upon those who were doing the very act of killing him, and he says, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. Jesus has given us an example that we should live by. Community is so vitally important. And I just want you to know, tonight, we as a church have started doing something because we feel this disconnect. We do what's called Fellowship Wednesdays. And so on Wednesday nights at 7 o'clock, we get together. I think there's some food and we just sit around and we just share with one another and we just do life together. And so if you've been disconnected for a while, if you're a part of our church and you've been disconnected, I'm telling you, Wednesday nights at 7 o'clock is a good time to get connected again. Wednesday nights at 7 o'clock is a good time for us to kind of ramp back up the community that we so desperately need, that we've been called to. So join us tonight at 7 o'clock for our Fellowship Wednesday. And if you have teenagers, we have youth class at 7 o'clock as well. And we also have children's class at the same time. Come join us tonight at 7 o'clock. Community is so vitally important, and we'd love to have you come be a part of it. God bless you. Hope you have a wonderful day. This has been another edition of Coffee and the Word.